Okay, so here we can see we're doing some kettlebell kind of hang-hold step-ups for my mom. And we're actually doing uneven weighted ones. So she has a 40-pound kettlebell in that hand and only a 10-pound kettlebell in that hand. So the idea of this is she's having to work on stability and bracing through the core and in the hips. So by having the weight on the heavy one on the opposing side of the foot that's working, that's making her hip on that side work harder to prevent herself from twisting and tilting. So we don't want twisting and we don't want tilting. So it's having to fire off everything in the glutes for that, and then she's having to stabilize that through her core. So she switched hands. Now her right foot will be the foot that's up. So that way it still gives us that opposing side benefit. So and her goal is to drive through her heel so she can squeeze her hamstrings and glutes. So too often people push through the front of their feet when they're doing step-ups, and that just works the quadricep down by your knee. Not a bad thing to work, but why make that the only thing working? So if you press through her heel, that gets you the quadricep down by the knee, but also the glute and hamstring. Also, the height we're at here is at the bottom, her knees are the same height as her hip. So that's going to get kind of a blend of the hip and the thigh. If she were to do a lower, so now she's going to switch to her left foot being up. So we're now going to do the heavy weight on the same side. And I'll explain that in a second. If we were to do a lower step-up height where her knee was below her hip, that allows you typically to use heavier weight, but that emphasizes the hip more than the thigh. If you do a higher height where her knee is above her hip, that uses less weight, and that emphasizes the thigh more than the bracing heavy stability of the hip. So you can kind of target where you want to work in your leg, whether it's the thigh or the hip, whether you want to work on kind of shaping versus bracing and stability, depending on the height of the step up. So now that we switched to the heavy one being on the same side, this reduces some of that hip challenge of twisting and rotation and stuff, and it allows it to be kind of almost like what's called a mechanical drop set. So this position will feel easier than the last one, even though it's the exact same weight, and she's doing for the same reps. So this changes a little bit less of the hip involvement, a little bit less of the core fighting, and it loads it more into the thigh because you have that heavy weight right next to you. So your center of gravity of the weights is closer to the center of gravity of your body, so there's less kind of stabilization fighting going on. So that's going to be just some real quick blitzing information about the fun variations of step-ups and specifically uneven weighted ones. So doing the heavy one on the opposing side is the harder variation. Doing the heavy one on the same side is the easier variation. So we did 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Now I'm going to surprise my mom, and we're going to go right to the leg press. So I'm going to give her a second to cuss and be mad at me. And what we're pairing with this is really freaking heavy leg presses with our new banded, reverse banding kind of band deload function. So what this is doing is now she's going to have heavier weight on her. We'll go for 10, Mom. She's going to have heavier weight on her at the top than what she normally can do. So normally when people leg press, they can only use the heaviest weight they can handle at the bottom. The band now allows it to be still max effort at the bottom, but as she comes up, the band helps less, and that gives her a little bit more weight load. So what this does is this creates more pressure through the connective tissues and the bones. So this helps build connective tissue strength and helps fight like osteoporosis or prevent osteoporosis. So it's a really good overall health benefit, not only getting the muscular benefit, but we're also getting kind of general health and connective tissue and all that good stuff. So this works her absolute strength, the total strength of her legs, and works the joints. Good job, Mom. And then this one was working her relative strength, like her strength compared to her body weight. It worked a lot of stabilization and a lot of other muscles. So this pairing is excellent for getting an enormous amount of benefits out of just 2 exercises. So super helpful, and hopefully there was something in this craziness that you can use for yourself.